to if you want to talk about, you know, the petrodollar and what's going on with that right now. I think that's a really interesting discussion.
This is a massive shift in geopolitical economics. The U.S., and I'm sure you've talked about this on your show before, but the U.S. basically left the gold standard and then needed a way to make the dollar incredibly powerful so that they could print as much as they wanted and it would not lose value. Most countries print, if they print some crazy amount of their money, it becomes borderline meaningless or crazy inflation. The U.S. needed a way to not have that happen. And so apparently Henry Kissinger was the architect, came up with the idea, well, the most sold and bought commodity around the world is oil. It's only going to increase. So if the U.S. dollar is the thing that is used for sales of oil, then the U.S. dollar will always be immensely powerful. So that is the term petrodollar. Now, of course, because the U.S. is the petrodollar, it then became the global reserve currency. It is the number one currency that nations put excess money into because they know it's stable. It's stable because of the petrodollar. It's a giant circle jerk. And they then this deal it came because of Saudi Arabia. Kissinger comes up with the idea. They go to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was an enemy of the U.S. at the time, but they said basically, we will give you military guarantees. We will never attack you. We will protect you. We will protect your interests if you buy and sell oil, mainly sell U.S. dollars, petrodollar. Once Saudi Arabia made the switch, the other OPEC countries did, most of them. But if you look at the countries, now the U.S. has couped and overthrown just a countless number of countries. But if you look at the ones,
ridiculous.
if you look at the ones that have been fully attacked, invaded, destroyed, and gutted, or the ones that like the U.S. just can't seem to ever move on from, they're just always furious at, it's all countries that have a large amount of oil and buy or sell it outside of the petrodollar. So it hurts the petrodollar's existence. These countries are Libya, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Venezuela. These are the ones that the U.S. has saved the most ire for, killing 1 million people in Iraq. The U.S. has killed upwards of 6 million in the global war on terror. But so then just recently, just a few weeks ago, the 50-year petrodollar deal, I mean, maybe it had been re-upped in the meantime, but whatever, it ended. And Saudi Arabia did not re-sign. Saudi Arabia has joined BRICS. They are now selling some of their oil outside of U.S. dollars in rubles and yuan. This is the thing that allows the U.S. to spend just crazy amounts of money and not have the dollar become meaningless. And it is collapsing in real time right now. And what was the other thing I was going to say? That so Saudi Arabia is selling outside of it. And anyway, this is a major shift in everything. And by the way, the mainstream media, right after that happened, the mainstream media first tried to not cover it. There was zero coverage of the petrodollar deal ending. Then there was one NASDAQ article and one like Yahoo Finance article about it. And then once they realized they couldn't keep a cap on this petrodollar deal ending, they then put out some articles saying that the petrodollar deal never existed. Like there are market watch. There are Market Watch articles saying, oh, no, it's not a real thing. It was made up. And you're like, guys, if that's the best you got, that's sad propaganda.
Well, it's basically sorcery at that point, in the fact that they know all they got to do is say something and it doesn't even have to be true. And there's just a bunch of idiots out there that will not only believe it, but they'll parrot it to anybody that will listen. And when you bring up Libya and all that, there's a very famous meme that you could look up that if you find out what countries didn't have centralized banks before 2001, it lines up perfectly with everyone that we went in except for Iran, and which this is to me why I think they're losing their ability to manifest us to do whatever they want. Right.
Those countries outside of the Bank of International Settlements, which is the large tentacles of the World Bank and everything. And Libya, I always found this funny. Within days of the moment that NATO goes into Libya, the rebels are taking over, but it's like days. And the first thing, so they haven't won Libya yet. It's not over. They immediately set up a central bank
Yeah. Like they don't even wait. It's just like they buy just a little, they get a little piece of land, they already set up shop. It's
Yeah.
already there. It's like setting up a McDonald's right in the middle of in the jungle, even though there's nobody there. You just got to get that corporate footprint in. But yeah, that gets into all that, man. And you just start studying what's going on with that. And it's just kind of crazy because I don't know how we save the United States. Like everyone's like the empire is dying. If we study history, the empires don't die. They just kind of rebrand themselves into different things. And I think we're going to just become the stormtroopers for the international banking and corporate cartels. They're going to send our sons and daughters or the sons and daughters of immigrants into, Gestapo, all these other countries for their natural resources. And the majority of it doesn't get sent to the everyday Ukrainian. And here's the crazy thing. If you didn't think the system was set up to destroy your dollar, to print so much money that your dollar eventually is worth nothing, so that you have to pay for a car at the price that your grandparents paid for a house, okay? Because your dollar doesn't go as far. Then ask yourself, why doesn't the Ukraine create a centralized bank? If we're putting centralized banks everywhere, why doesn't the Ukraine put a centralized bank? Why doesn't Israel create a centralized bank where they can just print all the money they want? If we're going to do Fed funny money, why can't they do that? Because the system is set up that they want to print so much money that the average dollar isn't even worth what it used to be, which was a certain amount of gold. The gold's gone. The oil's gone. Now you go, people, what is the dollar backed by? And they're all just like American might, man. They just show me pictures of tanks and angry bazookas and shit like that. And I'm just like, no, dude, that's not it at all. It's not worth anything. It's not. And it's symbolism now. They've just gotten rid of any reason to have some kind of control on how much they print. Now they can print as much as they want. And I'm not saying they want the petrodollar to go away because that's how they can control people. But it's definitely allows them now to print without giving a shit, or the dollar completely collapses and then our economy is in deep shit and we're just straight up Latin America at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it could go there.
We'll see. It's